Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to Oaka Partner Insights. This is our fifth in our Oaka Partner Insights edition that we run monthly. Thank you so much for spending your lunch break with us or your coffee break, whatever it might be. We are absolutely delighted to be spending this afternoon focusing on pre-season training, as we've jokingly referred to it for Microsoft's FY26 and kicking off with success for the next Microsoft financial year. I am joined by my lovely colleagues over here at Oaka, Nigel, Tamara, Ewan and myself. So do feel free, as always, to put any questions in the Q&A or even in the chat. And we have got time for questions towards the end. So we'll be giving you the opportunity to kind of come off mute, put your camera on, actually, kind of really communicate with us, because the whole point of these sessions really is to kind of drive as many relevant responses to key Microsoft updates and things that we think that you'll find value from, based on our interaction with the partners that we engage with. So for those of you that haven't met Oaka or heard of us before, we are a partner advisory practice. We describe ourselves as the partner behind the partner, and it's our responsibility to help you scale and strengthen your relationship with Microsoft, grow or expand on your sales and go-to-market strategy, and accelerate or strengthen your practice for growth. So across the three areas from left to right within an organization. So any questions outside of the topics we're covering today, also feel free to throw them in the chat and we'll pick them up where we can. Any questions we can't answer, sorry, I'm getting some reverb. I don't know if someone's come off mute, but any questions that we can't answer, we will take away, and we always respond in a Q&A afterwards. So yeah, make them as challenging as you like. I am absolutely delighted to introduce this month's guest speaker. We've got Shelley Gardiner joining us. Shelley's the EMEA Partner Marketing Lead for Business Applications over here in the UK. I'm sure you've all met, heard of, known, have seen Shelley in action before, and it brings us great delight that she is able to bring us some of her knowledge today to set us up for success in FY26 and give us some reflections on what last year looked like. So Shelley, without further ado, I know I've given your job title away, but would you like to give us just a little intro into you and your role at Microsoft?
Yeah, thank you, Lucy. I have to say it's lovely to be here, thank you, and lovely to be here with so many of you. So as Lucy said, I am the Partner Marketing Lead for Biz Apps, focused on the UK, but in an EMEA team at Microsoft. So hopefully today I am going to share information that will definitely help you plan and prepare for success in FY26. Am I taking over slides, Lucy, or are you carrying on?
I don't mind driving them for you. We can do a proper Chris Whitty, because throughout these slides, what we're also going to try and do is bring in some of the Oaka team to kind of give a bit of a perspective. We've got partners from all sizes and scales on the call, so we just want to make sure that we cover these things off. So if there's something that you've heard before, bear with us, and if it's something that's new to you, hopefully we'll try and give you the foundational understanding of what it means. So Ewan, I don't suppose you could just to kick us off, in fact, sorry, bear with me, Shelley, just take us through what you're going to cover over the next kind of 40 minutes, if you may.
Of course, Lucy. So the first piece I'm going to talk through is all the go-to-market programs, essentially money that is on the table to help support you with customers through that life cycle journey, but particularly the initial sales process. So I'm going to talk you through that. There's also been some updates with on the F&O front around some licensing. So I'm just going to make sure that that is shared as well. Then I'm not going to talk through at great depth on enablement and skilling. There is a ton of information and a ton of resources available to support you on your skilling and upskilling journey. So I'm going to share that with you, and importantly, all the links where you can go and find it and spend time like really familiarizing yourself with it. And then last but not least, I'm going to talk about some key resources and diary dates to put in your diary for the end of FY25, and also as we go into FY26, some key dates that we as Microsoft really would love you to have in your diary and make sure that you're there at the start. So there is a lot, Lucy, but as you also said, I'm also happy to take questions in like either afterwards or in the chat, and if I don't know the answer, I'll definitely do my best to come back.
Fab, thank you, Shelley. So with that, we're going to start off, as you say, by looking at funded engagements. Ewan, could you just give us like a perspective from your side, your multiple years, multiple decades of experience at Microsoft? What does it really mean to the partners that will be on the call?
I mean, I suppose funded engagements, funded engagements are a type of incentive, and Microsoft has all kinds of pots of money which are used to help basically push something forward that's important from a customer adoption point of view. So typically what we see is engagements will be funded because they are helping a partner or a group of partners lead a customer to do something maybe more quickly than they otherwise might, or make it easier for the customer to say yes to an engagement. So sometimes it could be that Microsoft will invest money directly into a customer sales cycle to help that customer say yes to buying something, but then also so that will help pay for a partner to then deploy the customer environment, and therefore it'll be up and running more quickly and they'll get more value from it straight away, etc., etc. So those, you get things like ESIF, enterprise customer or sort of end customer investment funding, that tends to get used to that sort of thing in very specific cases. But funded engagements is a much bigger program that's used to incentivize partners to do a particular set of things. Now, I'll just sort of lay this out at the moment. Microsoft's end of fiscal year is in like 2.5 weeks' time or something, the 30th of June. And if you can think back to the days when everybody thought the Earth was flat, you would see these diagrams that would show at the edge of the Earth there'd be, here be dragons. Well, that's kind of what it's like in funding terms. Everything stops on the 30th of June. Nobody knows what's going to be available beyond that. So everything that we talk about today is basically current fiscal year. And it may continue in a similar vein into FY26 that begins on the 1st of July, but we don't know exactly what that's going to be until then. Obviously, there are people at Microsoft who do, but we are not amongst them. And I'm guessing Shelley, if she does know, can't say anything at the moment anyway. So bear in mind that a lot of this stuff is things that happen right now, and by the time you get around to doing some of these things, the clock might run out in the current year, but be aware of what they might look like in the future. All right.
Yeah, because I know there's some partners on the call that kind of really fluent with this concept, but there are many that aren't. And so, Shelley, can you give us some updates on kind of where we're at as of June?
Yeah, and thank you, Ewan. I mean, you're absolutely spot on. What I would say, just to add to that, is from a Microsoft programmatic incentive perspective, this is the biggest pot of money that is on the table from a go-to-market perspective. And from the UK perspective, over FY25, we have utilised, partners have utilised just under $2 million of this, but there was so much more. So I would say as well, if you're not using them, please, 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 for FY26, or certainly between now and the start of FY26, spend time getting to know them, because there is money there to help you. There is a lot of money there, and we love a leader table in Microsoft. And the last time I looked across the whole of EMEA, the UK was 4th. And so the whole time I was really like, are we going to get on the podium? Are we going to get on the podium? And we didn't. So what I would love for FY26 is, please look at these, utilize them. They're extra money for you, for customers, and let's try and get in the top 3. So that's just a bit of reflection, Lucy. The program started last July, as Ewan said. Everything starts at the 1st of July for Microsoft's fiscal year. As claims reach their limit, so whilst it's the hugest pot of money, some of the programs, they do max out. And what you're seeing here is, as of the 1st of June, Business Central migration and the D365 solution optimization, they reach their claims limits. Essentially, there was no more money in the pot, so they are stopping. But it is important to note that any partner claims in the MCI platform, then they won't be affected by those. So it was just to make sure that if you were thinking of using them, don't. It will save your time. if you have got them in the platform, they're okay.
And I think from an Oaka perspective, what that says to us is quite clear, really, is there's been a lot of focus on Business Central and solution optimization, and perhaps, maybe, if I may be so bold, they were the easiest to claim or the simplest to wrap into a sales journey within a partner. So let's just kind of bear that in mind next year if there's similar programs available as of July 1st.
I think, I mean, this might be a familiar slide, or hopefully it's a familiar slide to everyone. So what you're seeing here is all of the funded engagements. You might have actually heard it called BAFE. Microsoft loves an acronym, which is essentially Business Applications Funded Engagements. This is every single funded engagement that's available by solution play at each stage of the customer engagement. So the ones we are particularly talking about are in stage 2 and 3, Inspire and Design and Empower and Achieve. And you'll see those. They're the ones that we would really love you to start accessing. You'll also see at the bottom, there is certainly until the end of June, there's one AI-powered business with Copilot. The reason that's highlighted in purple is to access that, you have to just go in on the MCI platform, you have to go into the modern work function. So it's absolutely available to you. You just have to access that pot of money through the modern work piece on the MCI platform, not the Biz Apps. I don't know if there's any more you wanted to add to that, Lucy.
No, I think it's a really nice, clear overview. I think, in general, we've been chatting quite a lot about this side, but we're seeing more and more the direction of travel from Microsoft being, modern work and business applications getting closer. I think definitely since Copilot has been on the tip of everyone's tongue. So yeah, I don't know. Do you agree, Ewan?
Yes, I do. I mean, even at a corporate level in Redmond, they reorganised. Must be a couple of years ago now, from a business group point of view, and modern work and biz apps moved into the same leadership group. So if it tells us anything, it means that that Microsoft itself sees that biz apps and modern work they often go hand in hand. And I suppose from a partner point of view, if you're a biz apps partner, then there's a lot of opportunity in Copilot and an AI world, and that might hand off to what would otherwise be a modern work kind of way of doing things. But vice versa, there's a lot of modern work partners who maybe don't want to start doing too much in the way of biz apps, but there's definitely a place for them to work together. So there's real synergy.
And we've seen the partner to partner world jumping on that, really, partnerships springing up out of nowhere. So definitely a key takeaway from this slide.
So what do we have here? So as of end of last week, this is all of the current open funded engagements on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side is everything that's closed. I have given you one that is closing tomorrow. You'll see that the Business Central Deployment Accelerator for extra small size is closing tomorrow. So I have popped that, thank you, Lucy. I have popped that up there. So it's showing as still live because technically it is today. So if you were planning on using it, my suggestion, I'd encourage you to get everything in today because tomorrow it will be closing. Thanks, Lucy. That's okay. Something's just popped up on my screen, so I'm just getting rid of it. Wanted to share this just in terms of from a planning perspective to help you understand how you can utilise these the funded engagements through the MCI platform and what sort of timings things will take. So whether it's now or whether it's in FY26, this is what you can expect in terms of how long things will take.
I think one of the other things we were keen to highlight here as well is, we're putting a lot of emphasis, as Microsoft does, on everything stopping at the end of this month and starting again on July the 1st. But any claims are currently submitted. So I know there's lots of partners on the call that are submitting claims as we speak. They will be able to complete into FY26. So that is good news. And then I think, so Shelley, tell us what you can about next year.
Yeah, not a lot, Lucy. So, I mean, as Ewan said, 2.5 weeks and we're into FY26. The programme will be staying, there will be enhancements, essentially for greater customer impact. So I would just say stay tuned. At the end of this presentation, I've got a couple of key dates of corporate landing calls that we would really encourage you to join, where you will hear what FY26 is going to look like. So yeah, I would say stay tuned on this.
I mean, the Oaka team did some reading between the lines on this slide, and what it feels like to us will happen next year is probably some easier mechanisms for claiming. I know there's been some bumps in the road with the technology. It's been a real machine for Microsoft to stand up in this financial year. So we're hoping that that's the case. I know lots of you have had cases submitted in Partner Centre to support your claims submissions. So hopefully that's what that means. Cool. And then finally,
yeah, so this is just all the information and resources. So I don't know if the deck gets sent out, Lucy. It has already been sent out by Microsoft, but these are all hyperlinks. So you can go and find out more information, bookmark everything so that if you need to go back to it, this is your one-stop shop of where to find everything on funded engagements.
Fabulous, thank you. Now, it's not all good news, and there have been some updates that perhaps are slightly more challenging to listen or hear as a partner, and I think the Business Central pricing update is one of them. Nigel, you, and I don't know if you want to have a comment on this and what your perspective is on these updates.
Do you want to put the update up first, Lisa? Yeah. Then we can talk to it.
Good catch.
There you go. This was announced a month or so ago, you know, kind of like 12, 15, well, depending on which one it is, a kind of 10 to 15% increase in price for Business Central. And I think when you do look at the functionality that has been included in that product, as we saw with CRM Online in its first 5 years ago, it did go steadily up in price, but there again, more and more functionality was being added to it. Yeah, my sense is that this is going to start taking it or making it less attractive in that kind of Sage 50 Zero upgrade space. I think that's possibly going to be looking more expensive. And if I had a magic wand, I would keep these, but then I would do a cut down version at half the price. But funny enough, I don't seem to have that influence. But yeah, I think you know, this is what it is. I think it does reflect the product enhancements, all of the stuff that's in there, and maybe Microsoft have decided that this is the best place for them to play, and it's still competitive with the likes of NetSuite, which will be the key competitors.
I suppose the obvious thing here is, you know, this is something that we cannot change. It's going to happen whether you like it or not, but you've got advance warning of it. So if you've got a client who may or may not be about to conclude a Business Central deal, then you can get them in before the 1st of October. CSP would allow you to lock them in for a 3-year cycle on that pricing, and generally whatever's happened is the prices are honoured if you go in for that 36-month skew. So, you know, this could be a forcing function to help a client make a decision more quickly, that if they leave it a bit longer, it'll be more expensive.
Yeah,
and Lucy, if I may, the only other thing, sorry, Lucy, the only other thing I was going to say was this is the first commercial pricing update in 5 years. So as Ewan said, there's advance notice. It doesn't take effect till October the 1st. So make the most of it.
Wow, I didn't know that, Shelley. The first in 5 years. That's a big, it's a big step.
Yeah.
Cool. And if you need any support from a CSP standpoint in terms of creating a relationship with an indirect CSP or having those conversations with them, you know, feel free to hit us up. Same goes for F&O, right? This is our last bits of bad news. There has been some updates to the finance and operations licensing model, has there not, Shelley?
Yeah, there has, Lucy. So it was announced back in March, but there has been some date changes, and the date changes are actually good news. So customers will still need to go in and proactively review and assign licenses in the Microsoft 365 admin, but the date for in-product user notifications of licensing has moved to September the 1st. And then you will see the validation date has moved to November the 1st. So these have been extended. What again I'd really encourage you to do is, there is a call next week on Tuesday, is join the office hours to find out more information. If you didn't know about it, there was also a briefing call. You'll see it on the left hand side, a partner landing call. Again, perhaps go back and have a listen. So whilst there are changes, they have extended the dates to give you more time.
Fabulous. Now on to the good stuff. So Microsoft seem to be making a ton of investments into skilling up partners and providing them with the training and the resources, etc., to bring on board net new capability, solution areas, or expand their current practice capability. Shelley, happy to kind of take us through these key updates.
Yeah, do you know what, Lucy? You've absolutely summed it up. There is an awful lot here, So I am absolutely not going to do it justice in the time we have. But everything is in the deck. So it's all there to help you skill up for success. So I know Lucy has kindly crossed out the ones that are no longer available, but there is a ton of stuff that is also still available on demand. So again, it might be worth going back and even looking at the links, because you'll find information online. But this is where you can find everything in terms of enablement. What the next few slides show. This one looks really busy, very colourful, but it actually shows you on the left-hand side the format of the type of enablement and skilling that is available. And on the top across, it shows you by sales play. So you can quickly hone in on, okay, what do I need? What format is available? What I would say is all of these sessions are live and they're also available on demand. So even though there are some on here where the date has passed, you can go back and still listen to it.
Yeah, some of these we particularly wanted to highlight, I think, are just, going to be awesome for partners. We get asked all the time. We know we need to think about Copilot Studio. We know we need to be expanding our practice. We've probably got some technical resources that have gone off and built their own agents, but we need some deep dive training. And I think this is certainly the answer, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's one running at the end of June, Lucy. So we'd really, again, encourage everyone there, they're there to help you. They're there to help you upskill. They're there to help make you successful next year. So please go and utilise them. And also, what I would say is, if Microsoft's very open to the feedback. So if you go and it hasn't met your needs, or if you go and it's a roaring success, we'd love to know.
I certainly fancy a trip to Denmark for that one, that's for sure.
And
Cool.
then I think, Lucy, on the next slide. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm having some technical updates, but yeah, no, that should be
That's
good.
okay. So this is next week. So again, I would, if this is relevant for your businesses, which hopefully it should be, because Copilot and agents are here to stay, I would definitely say register and attend this. It is free to attend. The link is on the left. So it's your opportunity to really understand building agents, how they work, and the benefit that they'll be able to give to your customers. So that one is next week. So I'd really encourage you to go and register for that one.
We'll make sure that the link is put directly in the chat in a second, because got to act fast. I think one of the things I would say, and what we're seeing within the partner ecosystem that we're engaged with here at Oaka, is that hackathons really do seem to embed the understanding. I know they've been a thing for a long time now, certainly for Power Platform and some other capability, but these kind of agent hackathons have been really powerful in some of the partners we've worked with recently.
Yeah, and do you know what, Lucy? The feedback has been really positive. They've been done at like local levels, they've been done in some partners, and so then really now looking to scale it so everyone can access it. So we've definitely heard that as well. And so we all know designations, advanced specialisations, they are so important. They're going to be becoming even more important. And what we are hearing from July, there's going to be a Copilot specialisation. You can see the link on the blog there to find out more, but it's really your opportunity as a partner to demonstrate to customers like your expertise with Copilot Studio and agents. So again, stay tuned for more. There is the blog, but it is coming soon.
Massive news. And as soon as that drops, Oaka will be sure to kind of decode what the eligibility criteria is, because that's, you know, solution designation eligibility criteria is what we spend most of our time talking about, isn't it, Ewan?
Actually, on that point, there are a couple of questions in the Q&A regarding the low code needs assessment incentive and customer eligibility for that. So I don't know if it's something we'll come back to at the end, but it's just something to float out there. You know, some of these things, there are some hoops that need to be gone through in order to claim. If your customer is an unmanaged account, for example, then they may need to exist within Microsoft systems already and tagged as unmanaged rather than not exist at all. And you may need to add that customer to a list of eligible accounts to be able to claim something. But you know, all of the Copilot one will understand the rules when that's announced in July.
Yeah, absolutely. We will go and take a little bit of a deeper look into these questions towards the end, but it's a good catch at this point. And, you know, from our side, over the last 2.5, 3 years, we've certainly seen from a Microsoft programmatic perspective that solution designations, yes, we know they're slightly harder to attain than a gold competency used to be. But solution designations are now kind of almost the table stakes, and specializations are becoming much more of a must have rather than a nice to have in the way that they were, you know, maybe 18 months ago. So I think, yeah, we will make sure to communicate what this requirement looks like for partners that have got a Copilot practice, or they have got some Copilot customers, or they're using it themselves and they think that this is going to help them drive some more conversations with your customers. We'll make sure that's shared. And the final partner enablement. Thanks, Shelley. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, Lucy, this is the partner slide. This is the final slide on partner skilling. So this is just the links of where you can go and find everything. And as I said right at the very start, there is a ton of information available. There's a ton of courses available, events available, and at the bottom you will also see the link to subscribe to the partner skilling newsletter, and that will help ensure that you don't miss out, because it doesn't rely on you going in to check every time. You'll get pushed those notifications. So just want you to know there's a wealth of information there, and this is where you can go and find it.
One of the areas that we quite commonly help our partners with is to try and map out throughout the year which ones are going to drive the most value for them. So if you are looking at this and you're thinking, crikey, I could be doing all of these or none of these, where should I get started? And what's going to drive, like, move the needle for me within the context of my partner, just let us know and we'll help try and decode that too. Nice. So some of the key dates for your diary.
Yeah, so thanks, Lucy. We're on the home run, so to speak. So these are the upcoming dates. So there is a Power Platform conference in a couple of weeks in Vienna. Again, these are hyperlinked. I don't know if they'll be popped in the chat, but they're certainly in the deck. If it's of interest to you, you can go and register. A big one is Microsoft moved the Partner of the Year submission dates from March in the FY, so the end of like Microsoft's Q3, to June. And they open not next week, but the following week on June the 18th. That hyperlink takes you through to all the frequently asked questions, everything you need to know for all your submissions. And it's really your opportunity to showcase what you have done over the entire financial year of Microsoft rather than almost half a year. So I'd really encourage you all, if there is something you really want to be recognised for. That opens in a couple of weeks, and don't miss out on that one. And then the two big ones, which we've referred to throughout the whole call. So the next big go-to-market kickoff event, which will be led by our corp colleagues over in the US, is on July the 22nd. Please bookmark that in your diary. The link is there. You can register. It will be online. They will share with you everything that will be happening in the Biz Apps world for FY26. That is definitely one not to be missed. And then as the last one says, there will also be MCAP start for partners. It will be online. We are expecting it to be in July sometime. We haven't had the date confirmed yet. But if you could almost make a pencil of that one as well, that would be one we'd love you to attend as well.
I think Nicole Dezen, who's the Chief Partner Officer, might have let the cat out of the bag. So she put a blog post out on the 1st of May and said it's going to be the 15th of July, but it's not been nobody else has said that. So if you're going to pencil any day and do it on the 15th of July, but we'll keep an eye on the blog and see what gets announced.
Thanks, Ewan. She's certainly going to be someone in the know.
Yeah, I think so.
Good little find there, Ewan, through the LinkedIn deluge of information. Fabulous. Okay, great. And then a couple of just key areas for people to keep up to date with.
Yep, so these are just partner newsletters, Lucy. Everything gets sent direct to your inbox. It's also posted on LinkedIn. If you didn't know about it, we just really encourage you to join so that you're getting the latest updates hot off the press as soon as they happen.
Nice, fabulous. And the last one is some key resources. Just from my perspective, one of the ones I just wanted to pull out here, there's a question in the chat from Simon who asked, does Shelley and other Microsoft colleagues run the UK partner calls for Biz Apps in the same way we can see modern work and security UK partner calls? And I think that's answered here. The short answer is no, not anymore. That's right, isn't it, Shelley?
Yeah, that is unfortunately Simon. But what I will say is watch this space in FY26. I can't make any promises or guarantees, but watch this space in FY26.
Yeah, having been involved in them during my time at Microsoft, I can attest to the effort it takes to run those. So kudos if that's looking like it's in the pipeline. We've got a hand up as well at the moment. I don't know if whoever it is that's raised their hand, I can't see who it is. Feel free to come off mute and ask your question. No, all good. Cool. We will move on. And I think it's just a nice little thank you from you, Shelley.
Yeah, it was a massive thank you, actually, Lucy. Like, Biz Apps has had a fantastic year for FY25, and we couldn't do it all without the partners. So it's to say a massive thank you. And, you know, we are here to support you. I definitely encourage all of those, you know, work with Oaka for FY26 and unlock all of this money, set yourself up for success. So I can be thanking you again next year.
No, kudos on a successful year. I know the numbers are looking incredibly good. So fair play to the partners who've had an impact on that. So I guess just to summarise from all of our perspectives, if you haven't been involved in any GTM programs, business applications, funded engagements, MCI incentives, whatever we want to call them, take some time over the next 30 days, 2 months to just have a review as to what is it that we have been missing out on? What is it that we would have been eligible for? If we weren't eligible, what's the gap? You know, what would it take for us to become eligible for these chunks of cash that Microsoft are putting on the table to position yourself effectively into your customers? And if you have used them, what's next? You know, which areas have been successful for you? Which ones could you look to expand into? Because we're certainly hopeful that claiming some of these pieces of funding is going to be slightly more frictionless and slightly easier for you on the call. In terms of enablement, again, just to call out, if it's unclear what's going to drive the needle for you or move the needle for you, hit us up. We can give our experience of where we've seen partners gain success. And I think the final point, and Shelley, I don't mean to steal your thunder on this slide, but the message that we keep getting from Microsoft sellers, from individuals in Shelley's team and GPS is the emphasis now with the kind of reduction of headcount in the UK and certainly across the board at Microsoft is the emphasis is on partners to develop their own pipeline and share that back in with Microsoft. And so I think if you haven't got a strategy for that, or if you can't articulate it successfully back into Microsoft, then take some time to really reflect on what that could look like for you. Do you agree, Shelley?
Definitely, Lucy. I mean, co-sell is another hot word. So yeah, and I think we're going to see more and more of that as we go into next FY.
And with that in mind, Nigel, would you just take us through kind of what Oaka's doing to help partners develop in that area?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so just taking Shelley's last line there, which is kind of setting yourself up for success. We build our kind of products and programs out of the conversations that we have with the partners that we work with. And one of the programs that we've put together that is proving very much in demand at the moment is our program to take partners through to create a complete go-to-market strategy. And we do this over 6 weeks, starting with a one-day in-person workshop, and then followed by 6 follow-on sessions with all the templates and frameworks that you need to create that that go-to-market strategy. And we cover defining what your target marketing is, looking at your pricing and positioning, the channels that you'll use to take that to market, coming up with a marketing plan around that, and then the corresponding sales plan, looking at the key metrics, and including some competitive analysis. So this is a guided program that we do with all the templates and frameworks, so that in 6 weeks we can take you through producing that complete go-to-market strategy for your business. It's our expectation and our experience that once you've done this once, you'll have all the tools and knowledge to do this for further years. So that was one of the things that I wanted to highlight on the theme of setting yourself up for success. And you can see the program cost for that underneath. And just a reminder that some of you will have come across our academy programs. Some of you may have even been on them. But we have 5 Oaka academies. Again, these have all been born out of the fact that, you know, Shelley was talking earlier about the enablement, but so much of that is around technical enablement, and where partners keep coming to us and saying, actually, we've got a soft and commercial skills gap. So we've built these academies in response to that need. They range, I'm not going to go through them. There are loads and loads of modules under each of these, some of which we offer on a public basis. So that column that says Open Academy, that's a per delegate basis. And the partner specific column is a price for us coming and delivering that program in your business for as many people as you want to put on the course. That's kind of an unlimited in-house version of the same program. But they all have the same structure, because we see that you know, in too many cases, training just doesn't stick very well. So we have made these kind of what we call a kind of little and often program. We start with a boot camp, loads of stuff to go and practice, and then over a period of time, we run follow-on sessions. You can see the number associated with each academy program there, which is a combination of surgeries where we coach people, the delegates, through trying to put these skills into action, and then a couple more sessions of further content. If any of these are of interest to you, then please do get in contact with us, even on so either on a public basis, or if you'd like us to come in and run a program like this in your business, we'd love to hear from you.
Fabulous. So with that, I'd like to say a massive thank you to everyone for attending. We couldn't do these calls without you. Hopefully they've been helpful. We will, before we close out, absolutely cover off the questions in the chat. So if you can hang on, do, and we'll make sure that they're covered off. Shelley, thank you so much for taking the time. I know your content is broad, your responsibility is huge. So I really appreciate you supporting us with sharing the news. And from the comments in the chat, it seems like those monthly calls that Gina and the team used to host were really valuable. So hopefully we can pick up some of the slack where that left off
Thank you.
while we're waiting for FY26.
Thank you, Lucy. An absolute pleasure. And hearing the partner feedback, like it's really helpful. So yeah, hope to see you again.
No, thank you. Okay, right, let's whistle through the questions. So Simon's commented that they find the customer qualification criteria for the low-code related engagements quite challenging, making it difficult for them to actually proceed with claiming the funding. Ewan, I think you briefly covered that, didn't you, earlier on in the call?
Yeah, Simon, if you're able to come off mute, I'd be interested to know if you went through the ringer. You say you didn't raise a ticket, but did you go through the thing of checking that your customer was on the eligible list?
Hi, Ewan. Well, there's a couple of different questions there. There was one, I think, in response to the question that Kelly asked specifically around low-code needs assessment, and where you have a fairly open eligibility criteria for the customer of unmanaged SMB or SMC. That sounds quite wide. And whenever I've looked, no one's ever come up. So it's great that you've given us that link to that form so we can at least try. And I get the impression is, like, you're going to need to do this most times that you want to claim, and I didn't know that was a thing. So that's very helpful.
Just a little bit of context on that, just for anyone else's benefit. So the way that Microsoft stores customer details in its CRM system is, you can be a managed account and you have a top parent ID that maps back to, some single source of all the stuff to do with that account. And there are lots and lots of unmanaged SMB accounts who are also in the system, and they also have a TPID. So in other words, you could say you can validate that this account exists and it's known not to be managed, but there are millions more that are not in the system at all. So if you pitch up with a customer that isn't in Microsoft CRM, it by default will not count because there isn't a TPID. So I guess that's the point here, is you're checking that the customer that you think you're dealing with is known in the same name in Microsoft system, and if it doesn't exist, then you need to get it added.
Right. Okay, that's really clear. Thank you. Yeah, I'm talking about custom, with 250 people or something like that, and they don't exist, I think, in some of these sort of back-end systems. The second question, though, was perhaps more about things like low-code vision and value and low-code governance strategy, which, as we know, is quite a hot topic. There's a lot of interest in there. But looking at that customer eligibility criteria, that's where you kind of go, you have to kind of build a business case around 100K spend on Power Platform when they're still wanting to talk about, well, we don't want to commit to it because we want to know that we're going to do it right. So we almost have a bit of an impasse, and we've never really taken that much further to actually go submit the referral and try and go through it, because we haven't done it much. And it just seems, and I was just curious to know whether or not you've heard other partners say the same thing, which is, we'd love to be able to use this engagement, but seriously, like 25K, value for the vision and value. Yet the Copilot stuff is, well, it's by comparison, it's open-ended, and you can pretty much sign people up. So it just seems like it's a little bit prohibitive around the low code. And I was really just asking if other partners felt the same, or if you've heard the same from other partners.
We have, and I think, so I'd love to be able to be quite open and candid about some of the best practice that we've seen. And I think ultimately, if there's any way you can emphasize the land and expand message with Power Platform specifically, that tells a powerful story around the increase in consumption. T, sorry, I saw you came off mute. Have you got a comment on?
I think you've
on
pretty
this?
much captured what I was about to say, Luce. You know, like you need to be realistic about what the opportunity is. You know, if it's 1,000 people site, you know, there's going to be a cap on how big it, how large it can grow. But if your opportunity is relatively small to start with, but there's the potential for it to grow, you know, there is some wiggle room there as long as you're being sensible. I'd love to kind of lean in and help. Next time you've got an opportunity, maybe reach out to one of us and let's take a look at it together and see if there's anything that you're missing or any way we can help.
That'd be great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
And Simon, you definitely get top points for best questions because yours is the next one as well. Talking of specialisations, I have an ongoing issue with performance metric for intelligent automation. Specifically, the requirements stipulate that only Power Platform, blah, 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 blah. It's in the Q&A if anyone wants to read the full question.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer to that, and I'm not sure if Shelley will, but we will absolutely take that offline because that seems incredibly frustrating and a barrier that just shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I mean, that Power Automate Premium SKU came out nearly 2 years ago and was heralded as this is what you should be selling, this is what we should be using. And now we just see a massive drop off on our performance scores because it's like, oh, no, we're not going to count that. We're seeing it in business apps usage, usage growth and deployment. So those customers come through, you go, that's great. And then they're missing. And unfortunately, Partner Centre support can't quite get their head around the problem.
Simon, Lucy, can I just ask, I was going to say, which support channels have you gone through? So is it just Partner Centre, Simon?
That's what I've tried so far.
Okay. And are you working with Oaka?
Lucy and I, we've spoken many times and that we've got so ongoing chats and conversations and things like that, definitely.
Okay. Because it may be there is an escalation path. It has to be sponsored in by somebody by Microsoft. So maybe, Lucy, as a suggestion, if you want to speak to Simon, like I'm happy to have a conversation and see if there's something that we can help. If that's something that like is broader rather than just a one-off that I can help with.
It does feel like a bit of an anomaly, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. The documentation it's there. It's doing what the documentation says it should do. And we're going, the documentation needs to be updated. Please, somebody look and try and, apply some common sense. It's been for 2 years.
Yeah, noted. All right. Thank you for flagging. Kelly, lovely to see you. Oh, we can't hear you.
Just come off mute. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, cool.
Yeah, you can hear me. I was just going to say, Simon, it might be worthwhile picking up actually because this is quite topical on my end, and it's something we've had. One of our biggest customers actually, we finally got the proof of execution. We've been working with them for quite some time. And we logged it just a few weeks ago, only to find out that they're not counting those SKUs towards it anymore. And we escalated it quite high, actually, and unfortunately, it's just not being counted. So I can pick up with you afterwards if you'd like to sort of share experience, if that's helpful.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Fabulous. And before you all leave, I've got one last plug, if I may. Every quarter, we run our Partner Pulse session in person with our lovely partners over at SEER 365. And the next one is on July the 2nd. So we would love to have you there if you can make it. You'll notice that there's a familiar theme, and moving on from pre-season training, we've gone to Kickstart for FY26. One of the key things I think that you're going to take out of this session in person is that we've got Paul McPherson, who leads the Business Applications Specialist Team Unit in the Enterprise segment for Microsoft. Will be doing our keynote in a kind of like fireside chat style, and Paul's experience is second to none. So if you want to hear it from the horse's mouth in 2KS, we would love to have you join us. As always, it's really designed to be as educational as possible. So it's a full day. There's always drinks afterwards. We tend to find the drinks is when the conversations like Kelly and Simon were having happen. So do feel free to join us for all or as much of that day as you can. With that, thank you very, very much to everyone for your questions, for your continued attendance, even though we've run over. Thanks again to Shelley for your input, and to the Oaka team. Nigel, Ewan and Tamara, appreciate your input, and the recording and the slides will be sent out in due course. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone.